In the valley of the Glaslyn, Prince Llewellyn ap Iorwerth built his wooden fort of oak and thatch. One spring morning, a messenger crossed the bridge leading a wolf-hound pup, bony, big-pawed, and wagging as though he already knew the place. The scroll said the dog was a gift from King John of England, meant to sweeten uneasy politics. Llewellyn read the seal, looked into the pup's bright amber eyes and named him Gelert, brave. The men at court soon spoke of dog and prince in one breath. Gelert grew fast. He ran the training yard at dawn, dodging spear shafts until the soldiers laughed and lost their stiffness. At councils, he lay beside the prince's chair. A single thump of his tail could end a murmur of intrigue. On winter nights, he padded the corridors, pausing at the nursery door until he was sure every child slept easily. Twice he saved lives, once by tracking a lost knight through the thorn scrub after a storm, and once by dragging a burning log away before sparks reached the dry floor mats. No one spoke lightly of disturbing Gelert. The prince would not allow it. When Llewellyn's long-hoped-for son was born, he moved the dog's bedding beside the cradle and said only, "Watch him." From that hour, Gelert became the child's guard. The nursemaids grew used to soft paws in the night and a low growl whenever fever drew near. In summer, the boy learned to balance by holding the dog's fur. In autumn, he fell asleep curled against Gelert's ribs. A court poet wrote, "The prince rules by sword, but the hound rules his heart." The April Hunt. On a mild April morning, the horn called the household to the forest. Before mounting, Llewellyn knelt, pressed his brow to Gelert's, and whispered, "Guard him." The dog's tail swished once in reply. The hunting party rode under budding oak. They found little game, and by noon storm clouds rolled in. Rain turned tracks to mud, lightning crept along the ridge. Wet and empty-handed, the prince called the retreat and hurried home, eager for fire and food. A hall gone still. He pushed the door open, and the breath caught in his throat. The fire had burned to coals, giving off just enough glow to show the ruin spread across the room. Ash drifted in the draught like grey snow. Dark streaks crossed the reed mats in jagged lines. The cradle lay overturned, rocker split. Blankets, torn, soaked, led in a red trail toward the centre of the hall. There was no sign of his son. A low panting drew his eye. Gelert stood amid the wreckage, chest heaving, muzzle dark with blood. The hound's ears flattened, his tail crept low, half plea, half warning. Llewellyn's mind filled with a single blistering image of small limbs and teeth. The room seemed to tilt. Heart hammering, he drew his sword. "Gelert," he rasped, but the dog only stepped forward, trying to close the space. Fear spoke faster than reason. The blade flashed. One murderous arc, and the hound crumpled with a sound that was hardly a bark, hardly a whine, but something that would haunt the prince's dreams. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then from a heap of twisted blankets came a thin, startled wail. Llewellyn flung the fabric aside. His son stared up at him, alive. A pace beyond the child lay a grey wolf, throat ripped wide, paws rigid in death. All the blood on the floor, on Gelert's coat, was the wolf's. The sword slipped from Llewellyn's hand. He flew to his knees beside the dog, fingers searching for a breath that had already flown. "Brave one," he whispered, but Gelert did not stir. Dawn at the river. Llewellyn dug the grave himself on the riverbank in steady rain. When the pit was ready, he spread a red cloak inside and laid Gelert on it as gently as a father laying down a child. Over the body he placed stones and then earth. On a slab of slate he carved, "Gelert, faithful, fell by my hand, may none repeat my haste." The hamlet that later rose around the stone took the name Beddgelert, Gelert's grave, so travellers would hear the warning carried in the story. Echoes. Years passed, borders shifted, halls burned and were rebuilt, but those who served Llewellyn said his laughter never regained its full strength. On quiet evenings he would look toward the river and remain still for a long time before turning away. Bards carried the tale across Wales. Wherever it was told, listeners felt the tightness behind the ribs, and children held their dogs a little closer. The lesson endures. Doubt can kill faster than any fang, and regret walks beside us longer than any faithful hound. They say that when the river lies glass still and the wind forgets the valley, a single paw print glistens beside the gravestone. Stand there long enough and you may feel a hush ripple through the grass, as though a tale has stirred the earth one more time. Speak his name gently. If the tale has truth, the silence will answer you, reminding every heart that love, once given without question, keeps its watch long after swords and sorrow hunt dust. And so by a hound's silent devotion, a prince learned too late the cost of doubt. If Gelert's loyalty touched you, help others hear his name. Tap like and join us here at Myth and Legend for more tales that still shape our world. Next time, a cauldron that revives the dead and the war it could not prevent.